All right, welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 337. I'm going to look at some international news, starting with actually good news, where President Trump oversaw the signing of a peace treaty between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This represents the seventh conflict resolved by the Trump administration thus far, and this one lasted for over 35 years. So that's some good news. Thomas Mahoney, a former Australian diplomat and consultant for the World Bank, was arrested in Washington, D.C. and charged with sexually abusing playmates of his children. The abuse happened in 2023, but officials then says they didn't think they had enough to prosecute or bring charges. Officials in Austria report that the birth rates among foreign nationals in that country have 3 times as many children as native Australians. That's especially true of migrants from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Obviously, Austria is changing demographically. So in Canada, they do this weird thing before every sporting event or whatever, and they have this land acknowledgement bullshit speech that they give. Well, guess what? After a very long battle, a court in British Columbia said the Indians were right, and parts of now downtown Vancouver belong to the Indians in a opinion that lasted over 863 pages. The way I see it is tough shit, Indians, you lost. All right, well, first it was the Wuhan flu in China. Now another virus spread by mosquito bites may be the next big Chinese virus unleashed on the world. Over 7,000 cases have been reported in one Chinese province. Luckily, with colder weather on the horizon, we may be spared, but check back next spring when the damn mosquitoes may show up in a neighborhood near you. The Czech energy giant CEZ has finalized a deal with Rolls-Royce SMR to become a major stakeholder in the construction of 3 small modular nuclear reactors in Great Britain and 1 in the Czech Republic. Companies like Meta, Google, and Amazon are considering the same to power artificial intelligence centers in the United States. Finland has charged the captain and 2 officers of what they believe is part of Russia's shadow fleet with cutting 5 Baltic Sea cables. The ship, although Russian, was registered out of all places, the Cook Islands. Grocery stores in Finland are experiencing increased incidents of theft and shoplifting. Not only that, the thieves are getting more belligerent with employees and owners. In the capital, shoplifting has increased 60% over the past year. A sleepy town in northern France was rocked by a grisly scene when a man was discovered stabbed multiple times to death and then disemboweled. They have a person in custody who officials note admitted to the crime, saying he was overtaken by a fit of madness. A woman in Paris is in critical condition after repeatedly being stabbed by her husband as he repeatedly screamed, Allah Akbar. The husband admitted to the attack, saying he stabbed his wife because she slapped him in the face. French President Emmanuel Macron vowed vengeance on whoever cut down a memorial tree dedicated to Ilan Halimi, a Jewish man who was killed in 2006. Halimi's kidnapping and murder was not prosecuted as a hate crime at the time, leading to protests. This occurs amid rising acts of anti-Semitism in France. Now, the largest nuclear plant in Western Europe is the Gravelines plant in France, and it had to be shut down completely and all 4 reactors taken offline after an unexpected massive swarm of jellyfish clogged the plant's cooling system pumps. And it's sure to blow up some liberal heads. It appears that the Barbie doll is actually based on a German cartoon character named Lily, an idealized character of a woman designed to titillate men. So apparently Barbie is actually a neo-Nazi, like Sydney Sweeney. Germany is facing a wave of bankruptcies, rising unemployment, and fears of inflation that may threaten the coalition government there. Polls show that public support for the current government has eroded in the past 100 days. And speaking of German politics, Another poll shows that the anti-immigrant right-wing AfD party in that country is now the most popular one. The government's response, they tried to label them as an extremist party and have them banned. Germany's Federal Employment Agency is coming under criticism for making it way too easy for recently arrived young migrants to receive government benefits amid rising costs to actual Germans. The website features a special portal specifically for these migrants with details on how to access benefits. A recent U.S. State Department report singled out Germany for rising anti-Semitism and restrictions on free expression. Of course, Germany totally rejects the findings of the report. This as they try to ban the most popular opposition party in the country. The same Trump administration report has called out Great Britain for backsliding on human rights and civil liberties over that country's propensity to chill free speech. And of course, the British deny it. Britain's Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, is coming under fire for appointing only Muslims to some initiatives and excluding other religious groups. Most of the pushback is not coming from Christians, but from the Hindu population in England this time. Speaking of which, authorities in Wales have taken Rob Davies, a shop owner, to task for posting a sign referring to shoplifters as scum. Davies is standing firm because he says, well, the shoplifters are scum. New reports are emerging in Great Britain that surveillance tools used for catching terrorists and detecting foreign interference in politics are now being used to monitor citizen online speech. Particularly troublesome for the government, complaints about migrants and two-tier policing. Although there always have been rumors about the former head of the Scottish National Party about her sexuality, especially about rumors she was having an affair with a female French diplomat, Nicola Sturgeon revealed that she never considered her sex binary. Okay, guess she apparently likes them both. So, I don't understand. I guess non-binary means bisexual. I don't know. It's also confusing. Some officials in Britain are calling for the removal of a statue of Robert Clive, apparently the former administrator of the East India Company, way back when the statue may potentially offend a visiting Indian official. James Bubb, who goes by the name Gwyn Samuels because they're transgender, is accused of raping a 12-year-old after posing as a police volunteer in an online chat room. Bubb, or Samuels, whatever, also allegedly told the 12-year-old that they, the victim of the crime and the sex of the victim of the crime, which further confuses the shit out of me, liked being raped. So some dude walks on a subway train in London and drops his pants, exposing himself to others. Passengers tell him to stop, he doesn't, and so they pin him to the floor and kicked him off the train at the next stop, where the transit police arrested the weirdo. Now police are looking into whether the 4 passengers who kicked him off the train should be arrested for taking the law into their own hands. A police agency in London has warned store owners they are not allowed to shame shoplifters by posting their pictures in their stores, nor can they post their pictures on lampposts or in staff rest areas. Apparently, even shoplifters have privacy rights. London police arrested over 460 people at a recent protest in favor of a group called Palestine Action. The group was designated a terrorist organization by the government in July. And Great Britain, doing their best imitation of the Biden administration, admitted that they have lost track of about 150,000 migrants who entered the country on social care visits. Officials believe most of the potentially lost people are the result of chain migration and the families of those who were legally admitted. And demonstrators took to the streets throughout Great Britain as the housing of migrants in hotels in major cities and the associated crime has reached a fever pitch. Demonstrations occurred in London, Essex, Birmingham, and Leeds, among others. Among accusations that the police were complicit and participated with Pakistani grooming gangs in South Yorkshire, Britain's equivalent of the FBI has opened its own investigation. This evolves out of the shocking events in Rotherham, where up to 1,400 young girls were sexually abused by perverted Pakistanis. And getting back to those protests, there was plenty of counter-protesters out there in force also. This is Salman Mirza, who alleges he hates sex offenders too, but the protesters just hate the sex offenders with the funny names. Yeah, you sound more like an apologist. Anyway, Crete in Greece is a popular tourist destination. It is also where asylum seekers from North Africa go to get into Europe. Now that Greece has taken a hardline stance on these people, they have seen arrivals of North Africans drop to zero. And that is how it's done, folks. Businessman Laurent St. Cyr took over the transitional government in Haiti as gang boss Jimmy Barbecue Chazarier warned residents to get out of the way so he can attempt to overthrow the government. And that's how things work down in that shithole country. Iraq suffered a total blackout this past week as soaring temperatures in a desert nation totally overpowered their electric grid, causing it to collapse. This comes during a major Shiite pilgrimage. The northern portion of Iraq was spared as the Kurds had modernized their electric grid over the past few years. 4 children ages 11 to 13 have been arrested in Milan, Italy, after they stole a car and then managed to hit and kill a 71-year-old grandmother. Under Italian law, the kids cannot be charged since they were not 14 at the time. They were arrested at an illegal Roma camp outside Milan. Roma, in case you didn't know, is another word for gypsy. Trump recently announced he would use the military to help combat the flow of drugs into the country, leading some to believe that we're going to invade Mexico. That did not sit well with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who said no American military would be welcome in Mexico. Yeah, we're going to see about that one. A fashion designer and Adidas are in hot water in Mexico after being accused of appropriating an indigenous sandal. The designer, Chavaria, immediately apologized while Mexico is seeking monetary compensation from Adidas. And that's what happens when you bend the knee. The grifter, in this case Mexico, is not far behind. A feminist in Morocco, you can tell she's a feminist activist by that haircut there, was arrested for wearing a t-shirt proclaiming that, I don't get this one, Allah was a lesbian. She faces substantial jail time for this, although many in Morocco are calling for her to be literally stoned to death. Nigerian military forces managed to kill over 100 members of criminal gangs plaguing some areas of that country. The military action was prompted by a deadly attack on a village the previous week. And it's simply funny, but Russia imported North Koreans to fill in for jobs in Russia to help fight in Ukraine. Now the North Koreans are telling news organizations that they're either getting killed or being worked to death. Go figure. That's usually how it happens. Some leaders and academics in Poland are warning that Western European countries don't want the war in Ukraine to end so that the EU can establish their own defense forces and sideline NATO and the United States. Just some food for thought there. Elsewhere in Poland, police are investigating 4 foreign nationals who for sending explosives in the mail. The bombs had military-grade fuses, causing Poland to suspect that the Russians may be involved. In fact, one suspect is Russian, and a Ukrainian woman was also arrested. A big game hunter from Texas was killed by a Cape buffalo while on a safari in South Africa. The animal turned on its stalker and attacked Asher Watkins. Cape buffalo are considered the most difficult animal to stalk and bag in the wild, and Mr. Atkins proved that fact the wrong way for him. The Spanish government has ordered the town of Jamila to reverse their ban on using sports venues for religious purposes. Not only that, Madrid suggested they apologize to the local Muslim community, which is the only group that uses the facilities. The city fathers basically told Madrid to go pound sand. Meanwhile, the right-wing Vox party in Spain, which supports the actions of Jamila, It's now considered the favorite party of the poor in that country, pulling support from the ruling Spanish Socialist Party. Vox now ranks first in political support among the three lowest economic classes. In Barcelona, Spain, their buses are now running on biomethane produced from sewage sludge. That's right, buses are literally running on human poop. Now I wonder what that smells like. Swedish officials are pushing back on claims that persons granted citizenship are being deported for failure to assimilate into Western culture. And in my opinion, if they were deported for that reason, no harm, no foul. You come to a Western nation, you assimilate into its culture and drop the hyphenated nonsense. Because sometimes you get crap like this. This is Kwan Hassan, a Kurdish refugee denied asylum in Sweden in 2010, yet he's still in the country with a rather long criminal rap sheet. Now he faces trial for brutally attacking another man with an axe. So there's diversity for you, folks. Then there's this dude, Mohan Asghari, who was granted Swedish citizenship in 2016 after walking into the country unaccompanied as a minor. And he's now accused of raping an 18-year-old Swedish girl. His reason, he told the police, was that he was just so damn horny he had to have sex. This clown hails from that wonderful country of course, Afghanistan. And finally, despite the efforts of Trump meeting with Putin, Ukraine and Europe have come out dead against ceding any eastern Ukraine territory to Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. While I agree with somewhat that Russia has a claim to Crimea, eastern Ukraine, sorry Putin, yeah, not so much. And that's it. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.